Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. So my friends over at yarnspirations.com, I have a new baby blanket available for you today. It's called the XYZ baby blanket, and I know what you're thinking. It could be gender neutral or gender oriented, but in actual fact when I was creating it, there is a mathematical formulation in order to get something to look pretty. So Jeannie's designs tend to have that mathematical calculation where X plus Y equals Z. So I was thinking, to my point of view, I added some stitches together which gave me this formulation. So X plus Y equals Z. So this is why it's the XYZ hooded baby blanket. So what we have here is, if you flip through my free instructions that you have, you can add a hood to it. It's gonna keep it in line with the stitch texture, and I'll talk about that when we get there. And then you're going to notice is that I have created for you a crochet diagram, just in case you want that. Go to the more information of this video just in case you would like that. And also we then have the schematics for applying the hood. So the hood is just a rectangle that continues to grow on, and then you're sewing the top together, which will fold it in, and therefore it'll look like that, and also keep it in line with the particular pattern. So we're gonna get started today using a 5.5mm size eye crochet hook today, and using Caron 1 pound. I'm really into the color sage lately. One thing I'll leave for you, this is in multiples of 2. So if you'd like to change anything on this, just continue to go 1 2 1 2 1 2, get to the width that you need, and then it will work out for you. It's in multiples of 2. This blanket is 110. I'm only gonna do a small swatch with you to show you the steps as we go in this process. So as we get started today, the repeat is going to be rows 3 all the way through 12. You continue to go and do that for as long as you want to do it. Of course the instructions have it for the baby size. So as I said, we can just chain 110 for the baby size. This will take you to about 36 inches wide. So you're just gonna chain either 110 or multiples of 2. So go 1 2 1 2 1 2 and 1 2, and when you're satisfied with the width you can stop, and then you're going to start with me then on row number 1. So chain 110 or multiples of 2. Let's begin row number 1. So as long as you want it to go, go second chain from the hook, get the back hump of the chain and single crochet yourself in the first one and then the next one, and then you're going to chain 1, skip 1 and single crochet in the next, and you're gonna do that all the way across. So chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next, and as I said, you're gonna do this all the way across your chain. Now I have a small swatch with you, so I'm gonna stick it out to the end, and if your math is right, chain 1, skip 1, you are going to go into the next one, but if it's the end of the chain you're gonna end up with 1 extra, and you want that, so you'll single crochet into the last one as well. Okay, so that's how you'll do it, and that was row number 1. We're gonna turn our work and begin second row. So rows number 2 and 3 are going to be cluster work, and the clusters are going to favor the opposite side. So the first time we go through, the clusters are gonna pop out to the back, and then we turn our work, and then we go for row number 3, and they're gonna pop out forward. This gives it the impression of being a double-sided blanket. You're going to chain 4 to start. So 1 2 3, that is the double crochet, and the 4th is a chain 1 space. So keep that in mind. So you're going to come to this chain 1 space, so you're skipping over the first single crochet, and you're going to cluster into the next. The clusters are made up of 4 double crochets, but watch how it's done. You're gonna yarn over and go right into the space and pull through 2 and hold, and you're gonna do that a total of 4 times, and you just keep collecting them on your hook. So when you see that there's 5 loops on the hook, you know you've done it 4 times, because the 5th one is the one we started with. And once you have that done, you are going to then just pull through all 5 loops, and then chain 1, and then go to the next chain 1 space. So skipping the single, next chain 1 space, do it again. So you yarn over going in, pull through 2 and hold, and do that a total of 4 times. But I'm secretly looking for, or not so secretly looking for, 5 loops on the hook. Pull through all 5, chain 1. Okay, go to the next one. So that when we're doing this, we're getting ourselves set up to be able to do the rest of this blanket, and we're gonna do this all the way across. And just don't forget the chain 1 after it. So do this all the way across, and I'm gonna continue along as I said. My swatch is slow, or is not very wide. you're gonna go all the way over. Remember that there's gonna be 2 single crochets on the edge of this row right down here, so don't forget that. So you're gonna do the last one, you're gonna chain 1, and in the very last single crochet you're going to double crochet in, and that'll help center that and keep it nice and stable. So it's going to be concaving away from you, so I don't know if that's concaving the word, but the other side, see it's popping out. So you're going to turn your work and begin row number 3, and this will be the start of the repeat pattern all the way through 12. In row number 3 we're going to start our journey. We're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, that's a double crochet, and the 4th one is a chain 1 space. Coming on top of the existing one right here, okay, so right in there, you're going to put in a cluster, so have them work together, and you're looking for 5 loops on the hook. So this kind of brings them together as one. And after you've done that one, chain 1 and then come to the next cluster and come right into the top, and you're gonna do that all the way across. So you already know how to cluster at this whole moment, I think. So you're just looking for the tops of those clusters that exist in the row below, and don't forget you chain 1 after it. And I'm gonna meet you at the end of the line in just a moment. When you get to that last one, you see how it's shifted over a little bit towards this side. That's normal, so don't worry about that. And after you've done your chain 1 at the end of your last cluster, you are gonna go to the 3rd chain up, and you're going to double crochet. So you don't double crochet on that 4th one, because then it won't keep it even. So that's what it's gonna look like. So one side here it's popping out, the other side it's caving in, but you turn it around and it's caving in this side and popping out this. So we're now going to move on to rows number 4 and 5, a nice easy single crochet. Now row number 4, you're going to just chain up 1, and you are going to observe the stitches that are there. So you're going to go into this double crochet, and don't forget there's a chain 1 space there. So the next one is right in the space itself, and the next one is in the cluster, and then the next one is in the space between the cluster. So the next one is a cluster, and the next one is the space in between. So this is gonna help separate those out. So just go into the clusters or into the space between them, and you'll do that all the way across. This is row number 4. And when you come to the other side, don't forget there's a chain 1 space that exists there, so make sure you fill in that space and go to the 3rd chain up. And that's it for row number 4. So turn your work. Let's do number 5. In row number 5, same thing, chain up 1, and because you've now established where all the single crochets are, just 1 single crochet in each stitch going all the way across to the end of the row. So just 1 single, and I'll see you at the end of row number 5 in a moment. In row number 6, 7, 8, 9, we are going to do the houndstooth stitch. Now don't let that be scary to you. A lot of the houndstooth is used in clothing, for crochet clothing, so that's why it's nice and tight. So you'll see that this does a really nice texturing look without being too off the blanket. So to begin, you're going to chain up 1 for row number 6 and single crochet in the first one, and then double crochet in the next. So you're just gonna alternate between the two. So the next one is a single, and then the next one is a double. So in my brain I say to myself single and double and single and double, and you're gonna do this all the way across. Now I bet you're thinking that's gonna be hard to remember. Once you get on the mode of this, you can actually do it without thinking too much about it. At least I can. And if your math is right, the very last stitch, if you're keeping that sequence, should be a single crochet. You started off with a single crochet, so the last stitch should be a single crochet, and that's the way I designed it. So you're gonna turn your work, and you can see the texture is nice on the back side. Let's begin row number 7. Now row number 7, see how we ended up with a single? So row number 7 we have to shift over. We're still doing the single double, but because there's a single here, the first one has to be a chain 3. That's counting as a double. So the double is sitting on top of a single. This double here is going to be a single. So just think about a double, single, and then double and single. Now if you ever get confused, see how there's more here to this than this stitch? This here tells me that that's a single crochet, so it has to be a double. And this one has a lot going in there. You can kind of see it as compacted, so this must be a that must be a double, so this has to be a single. But if you just go with that idea of just double, single, double, single, then it should work out for you. But if you know what to look for how that looks condensed below, it gives you an indication if you're on the right track or not. So the very last stitch, if you're keeping count, should be a double crochet, because we started with the chain 3 last time, and that was row number 7. Turn your work. Let's do number 8. Row number 8, last time it was a double below, so it's gonna be chain 1 and start off with a single and then double and single and double, and you're gonna do that all the way across for row number 8. When I first started this stitch many years ago, I would really have to think about making sure that it's opposite stitches, but then it ends up getting into my head and then I start remembering without really thinking much about it. The problem is once you do something like this, the next blanket you end up doing it without realizing you're doing it. So the last stitch should be a single because the first one was a single, but you can see it was a double below as well. So you're gonna do the next row, row number 9, which will be the end of this type of section. So in row number 9, number 9, you're going to chain 3, which counts as a double because the last time was a single here, and then the next one has to be a single. So I thought this was really appropriate for babies. There's a lot of fear about fingers and toes going through stitch work, so this does a nice compact look. So eventually you will get all the way to the end of number 9. And the last stitch should be a double. And I can tell that because the one is single below. We're now going to move on to 10 and 11. Now that this section is done here, we're going to start going and making our way back to doing these clusters once again. But before we can do the clusters, we have 2 rows of single crochet. So 10 and 11 is just chain up 1 to start and then just single crochet yourself all the way across. And then to return back on row number 11 it's the same thing, just chain up 1 and do 1 single crochet all the way back. So please do 10 and 11 with just single crochets and meet me back here, and we're gonna start the cluster work once again. So row number 12 is the end of the repeat that we're about to do. So it's gonna be the actual start of one of these clusters that we started way below. So we're going to chain up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember that's a double crochet and a chain 1 space. You're going to skip the first single crochet out and go to the second over. So you're skipping 1, and then you're gonna begin the cluster. So we're gonna establish our clusters. Remember they're made up of 4 stitches. And once you see the 5 on the hook, just pull through all 5 and chain 1, and then skip 1 stitch only and go to the second and cluster again. And you're gonna do this all the way across. Chain 1 and do that. I'll see you at the end of this row in just a moment. So at the end of the row you're just going to make sure you chain 1 after the last cluster, skip the last one, and then double crochet in again. So you can turn your work and then you begin rows number 3 through 12 once again. So this is 3 here, it's the second portion of that. Okay, so you'll see that there's 2 here, and this will give you the repeat over and over. So let's go to the diagram. Let's quickly talk about it, because in actual fact you just have to keep on going as long as you want to go. So let's look at the diagram. So here's the crochet diagram. We've just now finished up to row number 12. So you're going to repeat 3 through 12 7 more times. So this will continue to repeat over and over, and once you become to understand this pattern you can put these instructions away because you'll be able to get it into your head pretty easily. Once you do rows number 3 to 12 through 12 7 more times, you're then going to do the last row as being number 3. So this, see how they're in pairs here? In order to have the last row to be in a pair you have to do row number 3, and therefore it's done. Now when we go to start and do the hood is going to pick up doing rows number 4 through 12 and then rows number 3 through 11. But here's the trick. we have to figure out where we're going to put this into the hood in. So if you would like to just do a border of single crochets just equally spacing all the way around and putting 3 into the corner, you can do that. But if you're gonna add a hood, I would recommend adding your hood first and then do your border. Okay, so let's talk about the hood. Now if you're going to do the hood, wait for the border until the hood is attached, because you can see the hood just is a matter of just keeping in count. So what we have to do here is that the middle of the hood is built up as a rectangle directly on the blanket itself. So when we finished row number 3 in the diagram that you had, we were going to start row number 4 and continue to go through the journey. So 4 through 12 and then do rows number 3 through 11. The difference is that the hood is not the whole thing. So the hood is only a section right here in the center. So in the instructions it says here, fold the blanket in half so that it's equally, and mark that stitch. Then you're going to count with the clusters. So starting with the next cluster, count 10 clusters going in one direction. So if it was folded in half, count 10 clusters going in this direction, and then from that center point then count 10 clusters going in the opposite direction. So with the middle one there will be a cluster there, so you'll have 10 in this direction, 10 in this one, so you'll have a span of 21 of those clusters that'll be directly in the center of this. And what we need to do is that when we go to pick this up, we're just going to pick up as if we're starting the edge of the blanket, but we're only starting at this particular spot. So I'm going to show you a little mini sample on how that's done on the pattern itself, and you're just going to continue to repeat your rows that you have in order to make this work. So you can see here's the count of the rows, but if you just maintain then the instructions to be able to do that, then you can do that. And at the end all you're just gonna do is just fold it in, and then you're just gonna whip stitch the top. So let me just show you that on this little mini sample itself, just in case you're curious. So as I mentioned, you can make the hood as big as you want to. I've determined that about 21 is about the right size. So you'll just fold your blanket in half like this, and then you'll mark the center stitch that you'll have. And so that will be the very center. So let's just say that I want to do 2 clusters in one direction. Now you may have an odd number of clusters going all the way across, which I think you do in this particular 110 example. But in this case, if you were changing the size, I would just go into the pieces like this. And what I would do then is just, let's just say we're gonna count 2 over. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So what I would do is you can mark it with a stitch marker, but we know how we're going to start because the next 2 rows are single crochet, remember? So I would start it with a standing single crochet in the spot there, do 1 into the cluster and then 1 in, and you just want to continue to go across as if you're working all the way across, but you're only doing a small rectangle. And you're going to stop on the space that you think that you need to stop. So this little section is going to be the hood. So you can turn your work. So that was row number 4. The next row is number 5, which is just a straight single crochet across. And then you have like your multiple rows then of doing the houndstooth, which you see right here. Then you're back to the single crochets, and then you're on the clusters again. So you can see that you're just building up, and then once you're got to the right height, you're just gonna fold this in half and whip stitch across the top here, and that will close in the top of the hood. It's actually a really straightforward pattern in order to be able to follow. And if you don't like the hood at all, you can just take it off. It's gonna be part of it if you don't like the hood. But if you would just like it to do like a single crochet border, just start off in the corner and put 3 single crochets in, and then just equally space out your single crochets going across. Okay. Okay, so that's nice and easy. And so when you get to the edge, you're just gonna equally space. So if you see the blanket doing this, it means that you're going too fast, and if you're seeing that it's ruffling, it means that you're going too slow. So you may wanna lay it down once in a while, but in experience, people, we can tend to get it pretty close. It's not gonna be 100% perfect. So if you're looking for perfection, and you're in the wrong hobby for sure, but it's a neat way to be able to do that. So I know this is kind of a quick tutorial. The pattern is actually so straightforward to be able to follow with all those resources available to you. It's up to you on the route that you would like to go in order to make this XYZ blanket. And again, it's really quite easy to be able to do, and I think that is something that you can enjoy. So until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends over at houndstooth.com. See ya.